Just passed a 50K take profit trader eval. Scale with another 50K or move up. There's some, let me put it this way. If you can get a larger account, pass, and then get above the buffer, obviously bigger's better. At the same time, however, there is something to be said about prop trading, about simplicity, and kind of understanding inside and out without having to think too hard about the rules across your funded portfolio. So mixing and matching is cool. I've mixed and matched for a long time. But I will say I enjoy when most of my accounts are the same size, probably more, just because it's easier to keep track of in your head. And I know it sounds silly, but in our world, man, we're trying to process a lot of information all the time and make reasonable, logical decisions throughout the day. And anything that adds friction to that, is not necessarily a good thing. I think what a lot of people do is they say, oh, I'm killing it in the 50Ks. I ought to move up to the 150s. But then they're unable to pass them at the same rate because it's more difficult to pass as expected, because the ratio is different of drawdown to profit target, right? It's more challenging to pass those on purpose. And then they get really frustrated. If you are currently murdering it with the 50Ks, I would probably encourage you that unless you're like really killing it and it's absolutely time to scale harder and you've scaled horizontally as far as you can go, which, not to be whatever, but is probably very few of you are actually at that point. If you're killing it with the 50Ks, I would encourage you keep killing it with the 50Ks. You can make plenty of money with 50Ks. I don't think it's necessary to go to the 150s. And if it really is time to scale that hard, throw a personal account into the mix. No one says you can't do that, right? And, another asset here in trading, by the way, that I think gets overlooked a lot is your confidence level. I talk about this all the time. If your confidence goes out the window, everything is screwed. Okay, so for example, if you are trading a particular account size in prop and you're doing well and the confidence is high, you gotta understand, you're in a position that almost no trader is in, or I should say very few. Right, being that the success rate in this industry is pretty low. Again, naturally, very few traders are going to be in that position where they're in the driver's seat, confidence is high, they're performing well, making lots of money. Anything that could add friction to that, even if it's, okay, I'm going to move from 50K funded accounts to 150K funded accounts. If all of a sudden you have a 2 or 3 week streak where you can't pass those evals, you're not going to feel very good about yourself, right? Because you're coming off this high of performing very well. And now you're like, oh, wait a second, do I actually really suck at this? That's not good. Okay, you should have just kept that ball rolling, and eventually you just take much of that money, and if it's, again, really time to scale, either scale horizontally, as I always encourage, at another prop or with more accounts if you're not maxed out yet, or a third prop or a fourth prop or whatever, or go, and throw a personal account into the mix like we talked about. Scaling vertically, which in the prop space, I suppose, that could mean two things: trading more contracts in your existing account and or going to a bigger account is fine, but it's not optimal. Okay, if you mess up your confidence by being unable to pass larger accounts, you just stopped the snowball, which I think is in part your biggest asset. So I would encourage you, if you're currently killing it, even if it's 50K fundeds, keep killing it in the 50K fundeds. Keep that money rolling in. That's the most important thing. At the end of the day, the bigger accounts, they don't open up some massive increase of revenue potential. It's kind of slight, right? The bump is not ridiculous. I don't think the bump in revenue potential justifies the difficulty increase of passing the evals or tests in a lot of ways. And if we're being real, I think a lot of people, they'll be killing it in the 50Ks. They'll move to the 150s because they want to brag that they're a 150K funded trader and not a 50K funded trader. But at the end of the day, guys, does your family really give a shit at all whether you trade the 150s or the 50s? All they know is that you're killing it and providing in a major way. That's all they know. And they fucking love you for it. Among other things, of course, but they love you for it. They're like, wow, thank you so much for working so hard for our family. We really appreciate you. Thank you. If you're like, oh, I moved up to the 150s, they're like, what does that mean? They don't care, dude. Just keep killing it.